Heretic priests who have risen as trench ghosts resume the command of their dead followers in the afterlife, performing a parody. They become the nobility and commanders of the dead, echoing the role they had in life. Such mighty shades of the dead dimly recall their thirst for glory, and the ambition to rise in the hierarchy of the heretical order that drove them in life, and their desire gives them no respite in death. Unable to achieve their goals anymore, the ghost leaders instead set about to create petty kingdoms and domains they rule over as undead tyrants, compulsion driving them to meet the goals of glory and power that are now out of their reach. They create crude, makeshift scepters and crowns, trying to fulfill the ambition that still gnaws at them, granting them no rest in death, empty symbols of meaningless titles they vainly declare themselves to hold. Most powerful of them become ghost kings, holding shadowy courts in ruined temples and desecrated basilicas of the no man's land, making insane proclamations and setting policies for their followers to enact, even though each day of the ghosts is the same as the one before. There is nothing but coldness, terrible sense of emptiness, and slow decay into black, sentient dust. Lofty plans of conquest and expansion of their domains only leads to the same end: rule over cold, barren land and corpses. Such existence drives the vain ghost kings into deep pits of despair and hatred, driven by jealousy toward all the living as the ghosts envy the mortals who can still attain the goals and hopes in their lives, while the dead are doomed for all eternity. Even the warmth of the flames of hell is denied to them. Only in battle can the undead feel even a tiniest spark of significance. When they sense the presence of the living, the ghosts fall into their ranks silently but eagerly, and await for their leader's command to go forth to war once more. A trench ghost warband may stalk their prey for years. They hold on to their grudges against any who they fight, including other trench ghost warbands. For the ghosts are proud and vain. The mightiest kings and queens, tyrants, duchesses, and marquises feel venomously jealous towards each other, and often declare wars and blood feuds over their rivals, whom they see as usurpers and false kings. Such undead despots often go to war riding tank palanquins, scavenged from the armoured vehicles and broken tanks abandoned in the no man's land. The aristocracy of the trench ghosts are not powered by diesel or petrol. Instead, the vehicles become animated by the ghosts that serve the Ghost King in eternal slavery. A servant that has displeased their master in life may be punished in death by becoming one of the enslaved wraiths pulling the tank palanquin in the no man's land. Some of such damned are chained into the tanks with barbed hooks, collars and shackles, while others are ground to dust and then imprisoned in the tank engines, their wails echoing through its structure as the vehicle lurches into motion, draining the spirit of the ghosts captured within. There is no fate more miserable for a trench ghost. Atop the tank palanquin rides the proud Wraith Lord itself, the palanquin acting as both a hideous parody of a throne, as well as granting its rider a degree of protection and a lofty position to rain down a hail of rusted bullets upon their enemies. Bullets bounce off the ghastly tank, as almost no weapon has the power to penetrate their armour, despite the rust and decay eating away at it. Over the years, the tank palanquin becomes festooned with trophies, captured banners, and flags and armaments taken from the enemies of the Ghost King. Their troops bring gold, works of art, and artifacts of old as tributes, which are then crudely attached to the vehicle. The spectral nobles try to fill the gnawing emptiness within themselves by surrounding themselves with testimonies of their past victories. Yet no matter how many relics they attach to their mobile thrones with barbed wire, or how many banners of vanquished companies they fly, ultimately the Ghost Kings know that they sit on a meaningless throne of nothing. So on they trundle, to the next battle, to the next slaughter, to the next conquest to add to their roll of domains, carefully recorded by ghostly scribes who endlessly drone the lists of the victories of their dead master in an attempt to appease their cold wrath. when eerie searchlights of the tank Palanquins flicker in the mists rolling across the no man's land, and as the wailing choir of barbed wire banshees announce the arrival of their lord, the wise will turn and flee. From when you can hear the rumbling of the tank Palanquin and the cold eyes of the Lord of the Undead see you, it will already be too late. Alrighty, so this week is some Trench Ghosts lore and really, really dope art by Mark Gibbons. Mark has done the original Trench Ghost drawing that was already put out. The guy who's all surrounded by barbed wire and red energy, hence the great thematic carryover basically into this piece. Now, interestingly, for my money, Mark Gibbons is probably the best in the business when it comes to drawing barbed wire. I think, I don't know what it is, just the way he draws the ground, the way he draws the setting that these things are in, there's just something extraordinarily impactful about it. And yeah, it just, I think he's the best in the biz at the barbed wire, folks. I don't know how else to say it. It's like he understands that barbed wire within war has a certain purpose, but within stories, the purpose of it is horror. And he meets those two areas right in the middle really, really well with his art. So he's the perfect guy, basically, to be doing the Trench Ghosts. The Palanquins itself are super easy. This is like the middle ground of vehicles, right? It's a vehicle without actually being a vehicle. It's really more of a mobile throne that these things are dragged around on. There's something neatly disturbing about the art that Mark has produced for this one, is that demon carrying or pulling along the palanquin. You can see the hooks deep into its physical form. It appears to be carrying a head in its hands. I'm assuming the head probably belongs to somebody who may have been dear to the creature in life. I don't know, but that is certainly the impression that I get. Then there's the guy in control of the thing, almost like it's a stagecoach. And then finally up top, you have the Ghost King riding very proudly. Now, mainly what this lore is doing, there's not so much to dive into here with regards to like real world anything outside of the simple nature of the idea that the dead are envious and jealous of the living. That's a pretty kind of consistent theme across quite a lot of mythology, quite a lot of theology. This idea that the living, as brief as that state is, and whilst being alive compared to, let's say you live a pious life and you get to spend the rest of eternity within Christ's presence, that there's still something about that brief moment of living in the grand scheme of things that is worthy of being jealous of. I always think it's a really good way of like balancing out the argument of like, why would you actually care about how long your life is? Because if you live well, you'll be with God. Versus there is a unique element to the experience of life that you should be enjoying, that is so good and so interesting and so unique, and probably because of its limitations, that the dead would be envious of, especially those who are denied, obviously, paradise and all the rest of it. And trench ghosts are interesting because they're even denied having any presence in hell. They die upon blessed ground. They can't get to hell. Heaven doesn't want them, and around they wander. One of the most interesting things about this piece of art is, and I have no idea what it is, and nobody's ever going to tell me, even though I'm still going to ask them, you appear to have a giant floating thing in the background. I want to know what the hell that is. Is it just being carried? It does not look like it's a standard or something like that, right? Because it looks like there's a little hook that the thing is hanging out of at the bottom. But yeah, I've no idea what that is, and I'm now incredibly curious. So thanks very much, Mr. Gibbons, for yet another mystery in the world of Trench Crusade. Mostly what this has done, for me anyway, is reinforced the interesting part of the Trench Ghosts is they're probably the most miserable of creatures in all of the Trench Crusade universe. At least when you're in hell, you can experience glory, and you can have hope to better your lot a little bit, even within the society of hell, that maybe your torture will end. When you're in heaven, that's all gravy. When you're alive on the good guy's side, that's cool. Obviously, you're living your life. When you're alive, even if you're a Black Grail thrall, you feel purpose and you can achieve things. But these guys, it doesn't matter what they do. It doesn't matter if they win, they will still just feel nothing but emptiness. There is no joy within them at all. There is nothing that they can do to feel good or a sense of achievement or even the remotest specter of happiness and contentment. And that, if anything, is an awful experience. So yeah, I really like them. What it's also done is it's kind of made me, I like to scale up the idea of Trench Crusade a lot. And I think about the Trench Crusade universe being played out on an epic scale. So like on a 6mm scale, 10mm scale, basically. So like old school epic 40k, or what is it, Imperial Legions Imperialis, I think, is the current iteration for Games Workshop, that kind of scale, basically. And these, I think, are becoming my most interesting and potentially favorite faction if you scale it up that big, because their solutions to everything are so interesting and unique. I love the idea that their larger scale war machines will all just be scavenged from the things that have been basically destroyed over the course of the war, and they will like burn themselves up as fuel to make them move, and potentially even as armaments and ammunitions and things like that. I just find it really, really interesting. I'm getting more and more into the concept of trench ghosts, and part of that is that always undead factions have always been very, very interesting. I feel, to me, because they need to solve common issues in reasonably unique ways thematically, and that can often lead to some incredible visuals, exactly like this Trench Ghost tank Palanquin, which we are now looking at and going, holy shit, that's fucking cool. Now, I know this is going to lead to a spate of, when are we getting vehicles in Trench Crusade? Questions in the comments, and I don't know. I know the devs have they've said in the past that they feel that doing vehicles would take a different rule set, and I know that it is something that they are, likely very curious to explore, but I don't know if they've done any playtesting. I don't know if they've done any kind of concepting. You all just need to embrace the fact that a lot of this lore, a lot of this stuff, it's going to be cool ideas that people have that helps build the world overall. Not everything that the developers put out, not everything that the artists do can be directly related to something that ends up on the tabletop. We need to embrace the idea that Trench Crusade as a world, as a narrative, as a lore base, needs to develop far outside what we will actually be interacting with in the skirmish games. So I'm assuming this is going to be one of those things. But magnificent art. I'm absolutely in love with it. Let me know what you think about it in the comment section. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching.